On a dark, windy night, four friends, Tom, Alice, Sam, and Lucy, stood at the entrance of an old abandoned mansion on Hollow Hill. They were dared to spend the night inside the house, which was rumored to be haunted. They pushed open the heavy front door, which creaked loudly. Inside, the house was dark and filled with dust. Old furniture was covered in white sheets, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling. They entered the living room, where an old dusty couch sat under a large broken window. A grand piano stood in the corner, its keys covered in dust. Suddenly, the piano played a single eerie note, making them jump. They decided to explore upstairs. The wooden stairs creaked with each step. At the top, they found a long hallway with several closed doors. A cold breeze made them shiver as they heard a faint whispering sound. They opened one of the doors and found a room with old children's toys scattered on the floor. The air was freezing, and the rocking chair in the corner started to move on its own. They heard a child's laughter echoing around them. Panicked, they ran downstairs and found a door leading to the basement. Despite their fear, they decided to investigate. The basement was colder and darker, with a damp smell. They found strange symbols on the walls. In the basement, they heard footsteps behind them. Turning around, they saw the ghostly figure of a woman in a tattered dress. She looked at them with hollow eyes and whispered, "Leave this place." Screaming, they ran up the stairs and out of the house. The door slammed shut behind them, and they could still hear the ghostly whispers. They vowed never to return to Hollow Hill. Back at home, the friends sat together, still shaken by their experience. They knew they had encountered something truly terrifying and agreed to never speak of it again. It was a dreary afternoon when Sarah, Tom, and their teenage daughter Lily arrived at Eldridge Manor. The old, sprawling mansion stood ominously against the darkening sky, its windows like blank eyes staring back at them. The family had inherited the property from a distant relative, and despite its eerie appearance, they decided to give it a chance. "Wow, this place is huge!" Lily exclaimed, though her excitement was tempered by an uneasy feeling. Tom forced a smile. "Let's make it our home. It just needs a little work." Sarah glanced at the towering structure, feeling a chill run down her spine. "Let's get inside before it gets too dark." Inside, the manor was filled with antique furniture, dusty chandeliers, and creaking wooden floors. As they explored, they discovered a hidden staircase behind an old bookcase. Curiosity got the better of them, and they descended into a dimly lit basement. "This place is like a maze," Tom said, his voice echoing off the walls. Sarah found an old diary on a dusty table. "Look at this," she said, flipping through the pages. "It's from the 1800s. Lily, shining a flashlight around the room, gasped as she saw strange symbols carved into the walls. "What do these mean?" That night, as they settled into their new home, strange things began to happen. Lily's room was the coldest in the house, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Around midnight, she heard whispering voices and saw a shadow moving in the corner of her room. "Mom! Dad!" she screamed, running to their room. Tom and Sarah woke up startled. "What is it, Lily?" Tom asked. "There's something in my room. I heard voices and saw a shadow," Lily said, trembling. Sarah tried to comfort her. "It's just your imagination, honey. This place is old and creepy, but there's nothing to be afraid of." The next day, Sarah delved deeper into the old diary. It belonged to a woman named Eleanor Eldridge, who wrote about the strange occurrences in the manor and her experiments with the occult. She mentioned a mirror in the attic that was the source of the hauntings. "We need to find that mirror," Sarah said, showing the diary to Tom. Tom nodded. "Let's go to the attic." Together, they climbed the narrow staircase to the attic. Amidst the cobwebs and old trunks, they found the mirror, covered with a dusty cloth. "This must be it," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. As they uncovered the mirror, a cold breeze swept through the attic. The mirror's surface was strangely clear, and as they looked into it, they saw faint images of people moving behind them, ghostly figures trapped within the glass. Sarah gasped. "This is it. This is what's causing everything." Tom placed a hand on her shoulder. "We need to destroy it." But before they could act, the mirror began to glow, and the room filled with an unearthly light. The figures in the mirror became more distinct, reaching out towards them. "We need to get out of here," Tom shouted, pulling Sarah towards the stairs. That night, the hauntings intensified. Doors slammed shut on their own, footsteps echoed in empty hallways, and ghostly apparitions appeared throughout the house. The family realized they had to find a way to end the hauntings for good. "We need to perform a ritual," Sarah said, showing them a passage from the diary. "It's the only way to banish the spirits." Tom gathered the necessary items: candles, salt, and a ceremonial dagger. "Let's do this. We have no other choice." They set up the ritual in the basement, forming a circle with the salt and placing the mirror in the center. The family began the ritual, chanting the incantations from the diary. As they did, the temperature in the room dropped, and the ghostly figures from the mirror began to emerge, swirling around them. "Keep going," Sarah urged, her voice shaking. Tom held the dagger steady, ready for the final part of the ritual. "We're almost there." Lily, clutching her mother's hand, watched in terror as the spirits drew closer, their faces contorted with rage and sorrow. As Tom raised the dagger to complete the ritual, a powerful force knocked him to the ground. The mirror glowed brighter, and a deafening roar filled the room. "No, we can't stop now!" Sarah shouted, helping Tom up. With renewed determination, Tom plunged the dagger into the mirror. The glass shattered, releasing a blinding light and a wave of cold air that knocked them all back. The spirits screamed and dissipated, leaving the room in silence. The temperature began to rise, and the oppressive feeling lifted. "It's over," Tom said, breathing heavily. The next morning, the manor felt different. Sunlight streamed through the windows, and the oppressive atmosphere was gone. The family began packing their things, eager to leave the haunted house behind. "We did it," Lily said, smiling for the first time in days. Sarah nodded. "Let's never speak of this place again." Tom agreed. "We need to move on with our lives." As they drove away from Eldridge Manor, the weight of the past days lifted, and they felt hopeful for the future. Back home, life seemed to return to normal. However, one night, Sarah found a piece of the shattered mirror in her bag. She stared at it, her heart pounding. Suddenly, she heard a familiar whisper and saw a shadow move across the room. "Tom, it's not over," she whispered, feeling a chill run down her spine. As the shadow loomed larger, the whisper grew louder, and Sarah realized with horror that the spirits had followed them home. In the dead of night, a narrow road winds its way through the dense Blackwood forest. 4 friends, Jack, Emily, Luke, and Mia, embark on a road trip, their headlights cutting through the thick fog that blankets the eerie landscape. Tall trees loom on either side, casting long, ominous shadows. As they journey deeper into the forest, they come upon the imposing gates of Blackwood Manor, a dilapidated mansion rumored to be haunted by vengeful spirits. The wrought iron gates groan open ominously as they approach, revealing the decaying facade of the mansion beyond. Inside Blackwood Manor, the foyer is shrouded in darkness, illuminated only by the faint glow of moonlight filtering through stained glass windows. Dust motes dance in the air as the friends cautiously make their way further into the mansion, the floorboards creaking beneath their feet. In their exploration, they stumble upon a library filled with ancient tomes and tattered manuscripts. The shelves groan under the weight of countless volumes, their spines cracked and faded. As they browse the dusty shelves, they hear whispered voices echoing through the room, sending shivers down their spines. Suddenly, ghostly figures materialize before them, translucent apparitions with hollow eyes and outstretched hands. The spirits drift through the library, their movements graceful yet unsettling. The friends watch in horror as the ghosts draw closer, their presence filling the room with a chilling aura. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, the friends turn and flee from Blackwood Manor, their hearts pounding with terror. They race through the darkened halls, their breath ragged and their footsteps echoing off the walls. Behind them, the ghostly apparitions follow, their unearthly wails growing fainter as the friends struggle to escape. Exhausted and trembling, the friends emerge from Blackwood Manor, their minds reeling from the horrors they've witnessed. They collapse on the ground outside, their bodies shaking with adrenaline and fear. As the first light of dawn breaks through the trees, they share a moment of relief, knowing they have survived the night and escaped the clutches of Blackwood Manor.
On a stormy night, 4 friends, Emma, Jake, Sophie, and Liam, arrive at Ravenswood Manor, an abandoned house said to be haunted. The wind howls and lightning illuminates the decaying facade. Jake, the adventurous one, suggests they spend the night there. Despite their fear, they all agree and push open the rusted gate. The front door creaks loudly as they step inside. The foyer is dark and smells of mold. Cobwebs hang from the ceiling, and broken furniture lies scattered around. Their flashlights reveal faded portraits on the walls, eyes seemingly following them. The door slams shut behind them, making them jump. They enter the living room, where a grand piano sits covered in dust. The wallpaper is peeling, and the room is filled with antique furniture draped in white sheets. Emma notices a music box on the mantel. She opens it, and it starts playing a haunting melody. Suddenly, a cold breeze brushes past them, and the room feels alive. A shadow moves across the room, and Sophie screams. They shine their flashlights in the direction of the movement, but see nothing. Jake insists it was just a trick of the light, but the others aren't so sure. They decide to stick together as they continue exploring. In the kitchen, they find rusted appliances and broken dishes. The air is colder here, and the feeling of being watched intensifies. Liam opens a cupboard, and a pair of ghostly eyes stare back at him. He yells and slams the door shut, his heart racing. They find a door leading to the basement. Jake suggests they go down, but Emma hesitates. The others convince her, and they descend the creaky wooden stairs. The basement is pitch dark and damp. Their flashlights reveal old, dusty furniture and strange markings on the walls. In the basement, they find an old table with a Ouija board on it. Suddenly, the planchette moves on its own, spelling out, "Leave now." A low growl echoes through the room, and they see red eyes staring at them from the darkness. Panicked, they rush back up the stairs. They race towards the front door, but it won't budge. Ghostly wails echo through the house, and the walls seem to close in on them. Jake finds a side window and breaks it with a chair. One by one, they crawl through, escaping into the stormy night. The house falls silent behind them. Outside, they collapse onto the wet grass, gasping for breath. The manor looms dark and silent behind them. They vow never to return, each one haunted by the night's events. The storm begins to calm, but the memory of what they saw remains vivid. Back at their homes, they try to return to normal life. But each night, they are haunted by nightmares of the ghostly eyes and the whispers in the dark. The memories of that night stay with them, a reminder that some places are better left undisturbed.
Sophie arrived at Briarwood Manor, a sprawling estate she inherited from her great-uncle. The mansion stood alone on a hill, surrounded by gnarled trees and thick fog. As she approached, the gate creaked open on its own, setting her nerves on edge. She hesitated but walked through, determined to uncover the secrets of her inheritance. Sophie stepped inside the manor, greeted by a grand but dusty foyer. The air was heavy with the scent of decay. As she moved further in, the front door slammed shut behind her with a loud bang. Startled, she spun around, but no one was there. The only light came from her flickering flashlight. In the living room, old furniture was covered in white sheets. An antique clock ticked loudly, breaking the silence. Sophie noticed a photograph on the mantelpiece, showing her great-uncle with an unknown woman. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned quickly, but the room was empty. Sophie walked down a hallway lined with portraits of her ancestors. Their eyes seemed to follow her every move. She felt a chill as she passed by a particularly stern-looking man. As she continued, she heard a whisper, almost as if someone was calling her name. She froze, heart pounding. In the library, Sophie found shelves filled with dusty old books. One book in particular caught her eye, an old journal. As she read through it, she discovered it belonged to her great-uncle, detailing strange events and encounters with a dark presence. The room grew colder, and she felt like she was being watched. Behind a bookshelf, Sophie discovered a hidden door. She hesitated but felt compelled to open it. The door revealed a dark, narrow staircase leading down. Holding her flashlight, she descended, each step echoing in the silence. The air grew damp and cold. The basement was filled with old furniture and strange symbols painted on the walls. In the center stood an altar with black candles and an old book. As Sophie approached, the candles flickered to life, casting an eerie glow. She felt an overwhelming sense of dread as she heard distant whispers. Sophie's flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into darkness. The whispers grew louder, and she felt a cold hand on her shoulder. She spun around to see a ghostly figure of the unknown woman from the photograph, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Help me," the figure whispered. Terrified, Sophie ran up the stairs, the house seeming to come alive with shadows moving and doors slamming. She burst through the front door into the foggy night, her heart pounding. She didn't stop running until she reached her car. She looked back once more, vowing never to return. Breathing heavily, Sophie glanced back at the manor as she reached her car. In an upstairs window, she saw the ghostly figure of the unknown woman watching her. The whispers faded, but the memory of that night would haunt her forever. She drove away, never looking back.
As the sun sets, casting a crimson glow over the horizon, an imposing mansion stands silent and forsaken. Its once grand facade now weathered and covered in ivy, the mansion casts eerie shadows across the overgrown lawn, hinting at the secrets it holds within. In the neglected garden surrounding the mansion, tangled bushes and wilted flowers paint a haunting picture. Moonlight filters through the twisted branches of the trees, casting an ethereal glow upon patches of the eerie landscape, where shadows seem to dance in silent reverie. On the grand front porch of the mansion, once a beacon of opulence, now lies cracked and crumbling under the weight of time. Moonlight casts long shadows across the faded steps, adding to the sense of abandonment that permeates the air. Within the mansion's foyer, the dim light of dusty chandeliers flickers weakly, casting eerie shadows upon the tattered wallpaper. Moonlight filters through broken windows, illuminating cobweb-covered furniture that sits frozen in time, a silent witness to the mansion's descent into decay. In the cavernous ballroom of the mansion, the once glamorous dance floor now rots beneath neglect. Faded tapestries hang from the walls like forgotten memories, while moonlight streams through cracked skylights, casting ghostly patterns upon the abandoned space, as if the echoes of bygone celebrations still linger in the air. Within the mansion's library, the scent of dust hangs heavy in the air, mingling with the musty aroma of aging books. Tattered armchairs sit among shelves of ancient tomes, while moonlight filters through stained glass windows, casting colorful shadows upon the worn carpet that bears the weight of forgotten knowledge. In the dilapidated dining hall of the mansion, a long table lies buried beneath layers of cobwebs and neglect. Overturned chairs litter the floor, while moonlight streams through broken windows, casting an ethereal glow upon the decaying scene, where echoes of feasts long past still resonate in the silent air. Within the mansion's study, dusty bookshelves groan under the weight of forgotten knowledge, while forgotten artifacts gather dust in every corner. Moonlight filters weakly through dusty windows, casting long shadows upon the stacks of papers and abandoned furniture that clutter the room, where the ghosts of scholarly pursuits still linger in the darkness. In a desolate bedroom of the mansion, the once grand bed frame now sags under the weight of time, its faded curtains hanging limply from rusted rods. Moonlight filters weakly through cracked windows, casting eerie shadows upon the peeling walls, where whispers of dreams long forgotten still echo in the silent night. As dawn breaks over this mansion's overgrown backyard, the soft light of morning bathes the decaying structures in an ethereal glow. Mist rises from the damp earth, shrouding the forgotten corners of the estate in a veil of mystery, where the spirits of the past find solace in the dawn of a new day. On a foggy night, 4 friends, Jack, Mia, Ethan, and Sophie, arrived at Blackwood Manor. The old abandoned mansion was said to be cursed. They had come to investigate the legend. They pushed it open the heavy front door, which creaked loudly. Inside, the air was cold and stale. Dust covered every surface and cobwebs hung in the corners. The living room was filled with old furniture covered in white sheets. An antique chandelier hung from the ceiling, and a grand piano stood in the corner. Suddenly, the piano played a single, eerie note, causing everyone to jump. They moved to the library, where shelves of dusty books lined the walls. Jack picked up an old book, and as he opened it, a cold breeze swept through the room, making the candles flicker. They entered a long hallway filled with old portraits. The eyes of the portraits seemed to follow them as they walked. Mia shivered, feeling a chill run down her spine. At the end of the hallway, they found a door leading to the basement. Despite their fear, they decided to go down. The wooden stairs creaked under their weight, and the air grew colder with each step. The basement was cold and damp. Strange symbols were drawn on the walls. In the corner, they saw a ghostly figure of a woman in a tattered dress. She reached out to them, and they felt an icy chill. Terrified, they ran up the stairs and out of the house. The door slammed shut behind them, and they could still hear the ghostly whispers. They vowed never to return. Back at their homes, the friends sat together, still shaken by their experience. They knew they had encountered something truly terrifying and decided never to speak of it again. Lily received a mysterious letter inviting her to an old mansion that once belonged to her ancestors. She had always been curious about her family's past and decided to visit. The mansion was isolated, surrounded by overgrown trees and an eerie silence. As she walked towards the door, the sky turned gray and the wind began to howl. Lily pushed open the heavy wooden door, which creaked loudly. Inside, the mansion was dark and dusty, with cobwebs hanging from the corners. An old chandelier hung precariously from the ceiling, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. The door slammed shut behind her, making her jump. Lily stepped into the grand hall, where portraits of stern-looking ancestors lined the walls. Their eyes seemed to follow her as she moved. She felt a chill run down her spine as she heard faint whispering. The room was dimly lit by the light filtering through the grimy windows. Lily found herself in the mansion's library, filled with dusty books and old furniture. An old leather-bound book lay open on a desk. As she approached, she saw it was a diary detailing strange rituals and mysterious disappearances. The air grew colder, and she felt an unseen presence watching her. Lily discovered a secret door behind a bookshelf. She hesitated but then pushed it open, revealing a dark, narrow staircase leading down. The air was damp and cold. With her flashlight in hand, she began to descend, the sound of her footsteps echoing in the silence. The basement was even colder, with strange symbols painted on the walls and an old wooden table in the center. On the table were ancient artifacts and melted candles. Lily felt an overwhelming sense of dread. She heard whispers growing louder, almost as if they were coming from the walls themselves. Lily's flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into darkness. Panic set in as the whispers turned into screams. She fumbled to turn the flashlight back on. When she did, she saw a ghostly figure standing by the table, staring at her with hollow eyes. She backed away in terror. Desperate to escape, Lily turned and ran up the stairs. The house seemed to come alive, with doors slamming and shadows moving around her. She reached the front door, threw it open, and ran into the stormy night, her heart pounding. She didn't stop until she reached her car. Breathing heavily, Lily glanced back at the mansion as she reached her car. In an upstairs window, she saw the ghostly figure watching her. The whispers faded, but the memory of that night would haunt her forever. She drove away, vowing never to return.
As the setting sun casts long shadows over the forest, a group of friends arrives at a remote cabin nestled deep within the trees. Excited for a weekend of hiking and relaxation, they unload their belongings from the car and take in the tranquility of their surroundings. Little do they know, the forest holds secrets darker than they could ever imagine. As night falls, the friends gather around a crackling campfire, the flames casting flickering shadows on their faces. They share stories and laughter, enjoying the camaraderie of their weekend retreat. But as the fire dims and the forest grows quiet, a sense of unease settles over the group. In the morning, the friends discover an old map hidden among the cabin's belongings. Intrigued, they decide to follow its cryptic instructions and venture deeper into the forest in search of hidden treasure. As they set out on their journey, they can't shake the feeling that they're being watched. Following the map's directions, the friends stumble upon an enchanted grove hidden deep within the forest. The trees whisper secrets to one another, and strange symbols adorn the ground beneath their feet. As they explore the grove, they feel a sense of otherworldly power coursing through the air. As the friends linger in the grove, they catch sight of shadowed figures moving among the trees. Their movements are silent and swift, and their eyes gleam with an otherworldly light. Fear grips the group as they realize they're not alone in the forest. As night falls, the forest comes alive with malevolent energy. The shadows grow thicker, and the air grows colder as the friends find themselves lost in the labyrinthine depths of the woods. Panic sets in as they realize they're trapped in a nightmare from which there's no escape. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, the friends make a final stand against the darkness that surrounds them. Armed with courage and determination, they confront the shadowed figures that haunt the forest, knowing that their survival depends on their ability to overcome the evil that lurks within. As dawn breaks, the darkness recedes, and the forest falls silent once more. The friends emerge from the depths of the woods, battered and bruised but alive. They breathe a sigh of relief, grateful to have survived the night, but knowing that the memories of their harrowing ordeal will stay with them forever. In a secluded forest lies a small clearing, bathed in the soft light of the setting sun. 4 friends, Alex, Jess, Ryan, and Maya, set up camp for the night, their tents arranged in a circle around a crackling campfire. The woods around them are silent, save for the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. As night falls, a faint whisper drifts through the trees, barely audible over the crackling of the fire. The friends exchange uneasy glances, their senses on high alert. They dismiss it as the wind playing tricks on their ears and continue their conversation, but the whisper lingers in the back of their minds. As the night wears on, the friends notice that their supplies, flashlights, food, and water, begin to disappear one by one. They search frantically, their panic mounting with each missing item. Jess suggests that they may have misplaced them, but Alex's flashlight vanishes from his hand mid-sentence, leaving them in darkness. Suddenly, a pair of glowing eyes appear in the darkness just beyond the edge of the clearing. The friends freeze, their breath catching in their throats as they watch the eyes move closer, their glow growing brighter with each step. They realize too late that they are not alone in the woods. With adrenaline fueling their movements, the friends leap to their feet and flee into the woods, their hearts pounding with fear. Branches claw at their clothes and roots trip them up as they run blindly through the darkness. Behind them, the unseen presence gives chase, its footsteps echoing through the night. Exhausted and terrified, the friends stumble into a small clearing, their backs pressed against a towering rock formation. With nowhere left to run, they turn to face their pursuer, their hearts pounding in their chests. The glowing eyes emerge from the darkness, revealing a creature of nightmare, a spectral being with twisted features and malevolent intent.
An old abandoned cabin stands alone in the heart of a dense forest. The wooden walls are rotting, and the windows are broken, giving the place a forlorn look. Tall, menacing trees surround the cabin, their long shadows stretching as the sun begins to set. Inside the cabin, the living room is a relic of the past, covered in dust and cobwebs. An old moth-eaten sofa sits in the center of the room, facing a fireplace with burnt logs. A single lantern flickers, casting eerie shadows on the walls, hinting at the secrets the cabin holds. The kitchen is in complete disrepair, with broken cabinets and rusted appliances. Moonlight filters through a cracked window, casting a pale glow on an old blood-stained knife lying on the counter. The air is thick with the scent of decay and forgotten memories. A narrow path winds through the dark forest, with twisted tree branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The ground is littered with fallen leaves, and an eerie mist rises from the forest floor, adding to the sense of unease that hangs in the air. In a clearing deep within the forest, the full moon illuminates an ancient stone altar. The altar is covered in moss and vines, and strange symbols are carved into the stone, glowing faintly in the moonlight. The air is thick with an otherworldly presence, making the skin crawl. A dark, fast-flowing river cuts through the forest, its black waters reflecting the moonlight. A rickety wooden bridge spans the river, creaking ominously with each gust of wind. The sound of the rushing water adds to the sense of isolation and dread. The basement of the cabin is dark and damp, with stone walls covered in moss. Rusted chains hang from the ceiling, swaying slightly in the draft. The floor is littered with broken bottles and old bones, remnants of a sinister past. A hidden room in the basement, revealed by a secret door, is filled with ancient books and strange artifacts. A large, dusty mirror dominates the room, reflecting an eerie glow. The air is thick with the scent of old parchment and something darker, more malevolent. As dawn breaks, the edge of the forest is bathed in a soft, golden light. The shadows recede, revealing the cabin in the distance. Birds begin to sing, their cheerful notes bringing a sense of normalcy back to the eerie setting. but the haunting memories of the night linger. In the morning light, the abandoned cabin appears less menacing, but still forlorn. The broken windows and overgrown yard are clearly visible, and a sense of unease still lingers in the air. The events of the night have left their mark, a reminder that some secrets are best left undisturbed.
In the quaint town of Oakwood, nestled among towering trees, a group of friends receives an unexpected invitation to Ravenwood Manor, a sprawling estate rumored to be haunted. Despite the warnings of locals, they eagerly accept the invitation, drawn by the promise of adventure and the thrill of exploring the unknown. With excitement and trepidation, they set out for the manor, their imaginations running wild with tales of ghosts and spirits. As the friends arrive at Ravenwood Manor, they are struck by its imposing presence, a looming silhouette against the backdrop of the night sky. The air is heavy with a sense of foreboding as they step out of their car and approach the grand entrance. The doors creak open, welcoming them into the darkness within. Inside Ravenwood Manor, the friends are greeted by the grandeur of the Grand Hall, a vast space filled with antique furniture, intricate tapestries, and flickering candlelight. But beneath the opulence lies an undeniable sense of decay, as if the very walls of the manor are steeped in secrets and shadows. As they explore, they can't shake the feeling that they are being watched. As night falls, the friends gather for a dinner party in the Grand Hall, the flickering candlelight casting eerie shadows on the walls. The atmosphere is tense as they exchange nervous glances, the weight of the manor's history hanging heavy in the air. But as the night wears on, strange occurrences begin to unfold. A chill wind blowing through the room, objects moving of their own accord, and whispered voices echoing through the halls. After dinner, the friends venture into the library, a dimly lit room filled with ancient books and dusty shelves. As they browse the shelves, they come across a book bound in faded leather, an old journal belonging to the previous owner of the manor. Intrigued, they begin to read, uncovering the dark secrets that lie hidden within the pages. As the night progresses, the friends begin to encounter ghostly apparitions wandering the halls of Ravenwood Manor, shadowy figures that vanish as quickly as they appear. The friends try to rationalize what they're seeing, but the sense of unease only grows stronger. They realize they are not alone in the manor, and that something sinister lurks within its walls. Desperate to uncover the truth behind the hauntings, the friends decide to conduct a ritual to communicate with the spirits of Ravenwood Manor. Gathering in the grand hall, they light candles and chant incantations, their voices echoing through the darkness. But as the ritual reaches its climax, they unwittingly unleash forces beyond their control. As the ritual reaches its peak, the spirits of Ravenwood Manor manifest before the friends, a swirling mass of darkness and despair. The friends watch in horror as the spirits lash out, their voices filled with anger and sorrow. With nowhere to run, the friends brace themselves for a final confrontation with the forces that haunt the manor. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, the friends make a desperate bid for escape, racing through the halls of Ravenwood Manor as the spirits close in around them. They reach the front door, their hearts pounding in their chests, and burst out into the night, leaving the darkness of the manor behind them. As the friends emerge from Ravenwood Manor, they are greeted by the light of dawn breaking over the horizon, a beacon of hope in the darkness. Though shaken by their ordeal, they take comfort in the knowledge that they've survived the night and escaped the clutches of the haunted manor. As they walk away, they vow never to return to Ravenwood Manor again.
The whispering woods loomed ominously under the fading light of dusk. Trees stood tall and twisted, their branches reaching out like clawed hands. A thick mist settled among the trees, obscuring the path ahead and adding to the sense of foreboding. Deep within the woods, an abandoned cabin stood desolate. Its windows were boarded up, and its door hung off its hinges. Weathered wood and creeping vines adorned the exterior. Inside, darkness and mustiness filled the air, with cobwebs hanging from the ceiling like ghostly veils. The living room of the cabin was sparse, with a dilapidated sofa and a dusty rug covering the floor. A broken window let in a chilling breeze, causing the faded photographs on the walls to flutter ominously. The kitchen was in disarray, with broken cabinets and scattered utensils. The sink was stained, and a thick layer of grime covered the countertops. A single flickering bulb cast long, eerie shadows that danced across the walls. The backyard of the cabin was overgrown with weeds, and old rusted gardening tools lay abandoned among the tangled foliage. A gnarled tree stood in the center, its branches reaching out like skeletal fingers against the moonlit sky, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The whispering woods at midnight were cloaked in darkness. The trees seemed to sway and whisper secrets to each other, their branches creaking in the stillness of the night. Strange, ghostly lights flickered among the shadows, adding to the sense of otherworldly dread. The bedroom was cold and drafty, with a creaky bed covered in moth-eaten sheets. Moonlight filtered through the cracks in the boarded-up window, casting eerie patterns on the floor and illuminating the room in a ghostly glow. The attic was filled with dusty, forgotten belongings. Old trunks sat in the corners, their contents long forgotten. Cobwebs hung from the rafters, and the air was heavy with the scent of decay, as if the very walls were whispering tales of the past. As dawn broke, the whispering woods were bathed in the soft light of morning. The mist began to dissipate, revealing the twisted trees and tangled underbrush. Birds chirped in the distance, bringing a sense of calm to the once eerie forest, as if the night's terrors had never existed. On a foggy autumn evening, four friends, Lucy, Tom, Ava, and Ben, stand before Greystone Manor, an abandoned mansion known for its haunted past. Ben, always the thrill-seeker, dares the group to spend the night inside. With a mix of nervousness and excitement, they agree, pushing open the creaky iron gate and stepping onto the overgrown path leading to the mansion. The front door groans loudly as they push it open, revealing a dark, musty foyer. Cobwebs hang from the ceiling, and a thick layer of dust covers everything. The air smells of mold and decay. They switch on their flashlights, casting long shadows on the peeling wallpaper as they step inside, the door slamming shut behind them. They decide to explore and find themselves in a grand library, filled with old leather-bound books. A large, dusty chandelier hangs from the ceiling, and an ancient fireplace sits cold and empty. Lucy notices a book lying open on a table, its pages filled with strange symbols. As she touches it, the chandelier above them begins to sway. A sudden cold breeze blows through the room, extinguishing their flashlights. In the darkness, they hear faint whispers and the soft sound of footsteps. Panic sets in as they fumble to turn their flashlights back on, only to see a shadowy figure disappear into the next room. They follow the figure into the kitchen where old rusted appliances and broken dishes litter the floor. The air is colder here and the feeling of being watched intensifies. Ava opens a cupboard and a pair of ghostly eyes stare back at her. She screams and the cupboard door slams shut on its own. In the hallway, they find a door leading to the basement. Ben suggests going down, but Lucy hesitates. The others convince her, and they slowly descend the creaky wooden stairs. The basement is pitch dark and the air is damp and chilly. They feel an overwhelming sense of dread. In the basement, they find an old wooden table with strange markings. A low growl resonates through the room, and they see glowing red eyes staring at them from the far corner. Panic-stricken, they scramble back up the stairs as the growling grows louder. Desperate to leave, they race towards the front door. The house seems to come alive, with doors slamming and ghostly wails echoing through the halls. They struggle to open the front door, finally bursting out into the cold night air. The mansion falls silent behind them. Outside, they collapse into the grass, gasping for breath. The mansion looms dark and silent behind them. They vow never to return, each one haunted by the night's events. The night air is cold, but they feel a sense of relief and safety. Back at their homes, the friends try to return to normal life. But each night, they are haunted by nightmares of the ghostly eyes and the whispers in the dark. The memories of that night remain vivid, and they realize that some horrors can never be forgotten.
In a remote forest clearing stands an old, dilapidated cabin, its windows boarded up and its door barely hanging on its hinges. Four friends, Tom, Sarah, Mike, and Emily, arrive at the cabin for a weekend getaway. The sun is setting, casting long shadows over the eerie landscape. Inside the cabin, the air is thick with dust and decay. Cobwebs hang from the rafters, and the floorboards creak ominously underfoot. The friends explore cautiously, their footsteps echoing off the walls as they navigate the dimly lit rooms. As they search the cabin, they discover a trap door leading to a dark, musty basement. With trepidation, They descend into the depths below, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The air grows colder, and the sound of dripping water echoes off the stone walls. In the basement, they begin to hear faint whispers that seem to echo off the stone walls. The whispers grow louder and more insistent, filling the air with an eerie chorus. The friends exchange nervous glances, their hearts pounding as they try to locate the source of the haunting sounds. Suddenly, ghostly figures materialize before them, translucent apparitions with hollow eyes and outstretched hands. The ethereal beings glide through the darkness, their movements graceful yet unsettling. The friends watch in horror as the spirits draw closer, their presence filling the basement with a chilling aura. With adrenaline driving them, the friends turn and flee from the basement, their hearts pounding with terror. They scramble up the stairs, their footsteps echoing off the walls as they race for the safety of the cabin above. Behind them, the ghostly spirits follow, their unearthly wails growing fainter as the friends struggle to escape. Exhausted and trembling, the friends burst through the door of the cabin, their minds reeling from the horrors they've witnessed. They collapse on the floor, their bodies shaking with adrenaline and fear. Outside, the moon casts an eerie glow over the forest, as if mourning the events that have unfolded. In the heart of a dense forest stands an old mansion, its once grand facade now crumbling and overgrown with ivy. 4 friends, Tom, Sarah, Emily, and Jake, arrive at the mansion one foggy evening, drawn by rumors of its haunting. The air is heavy with anticipation as they approach the imposing structure. With trepidation, the friends push open the creaking front door and step into the mansion's entryway. Cobwebs cling to the ceiling, and dust dances in the beams of their flashlights. The air is thick with a sense of foreboding as they take their first steps into the abandoned mansion. Inside the mansion, they encounter a labyrinth of hallways lined with closed doors. Each room they enter is filled with decaying remnants of the past, broken furniture, faded paintings, and tattered curtains. Strange symbols are etched into the walls, and the air is heavy with the scent of decay. As they delve deeper into the mansion, they begin to hear faint whispers that seem to echo through the halls. The whispers grow louder and more insistent, filling the air with an unsettling chorus. The friends exchange nervous glances, their hearts pounding as they try to locate the source of the haunting sounds. Suddenly, ghostly figures materialize before them, translucent apparitions with hollow eyes and outstretched hands. The ethereal beings glide through the air, their movements graceful yet unsettling. The friends watch in horror as the spirits draw closer, their presence filling the mansion with a chilling aura. With adrenaline driving them, the friends turn and flee from the mansion, their hearts pounding with terror. They race through the dark corridors, their breath ragged and their footsteps echoing off the walls. Behind them, the ghostly spirits follow, their unearthly wails growing fainter as the friends struggle to escape. Exhausted and trembling, the friends burst through the door of the mansion, their minds reeling from the horrors they've witnessed. They collapse on the ground outside, their bodies shaking with adrenaline and fear. As the mist begins to dissipate, they share a silent vow never to return to the mansion's shadowed halls. In a small town nestled among dense forests stood an old manor, its windows boarded up and its once grand facade now crumbling. The townsfolk whispered tales of the mansion being haunted, with eerie lights seen flickering in the windows at night. A group of adventurous teenagers led by Alex decided to spend the night in the abandoned manor, hoping to debunk the supernatural rumors surrounding it. They arrived just as dusk settled, their excitement tinged with nervousness. As they ventured inside, the air grew colder and the silence thicker. The floorboards creaked beneath their feet as they explored the dimly lit rooms, each filled with dusty furniture covered in white sheets. Strange occurrences began to unfold. Doors slammed shut on their own, whispers echoed through the halls, and ghostly apparitions appeared fleetingly in the corners of their eyes. Alex remained determined to find a rational explanation, but doubt crept into their minds. As midnight approached, the supernatural presence in the manor grew stronger. The teenagers found themselves surrounded by swirling mists and ominous whispers, trapped in a nightmarish labyrinth where reality blurred with the paranormal. With their courage waning, the teenagers made a desperate attempt to escape the malevolent forces that held them captive. Racing through the maze-like corridors, they stumbled upon a hidden passage leading to freedom. As dawn broke, the teenagers emerged from the manor, shaken but alive. They vowed never to return to the cursed place, their encounter with the supernatural etched into their memories forever. Briarwood Manor stood silent and foreboding at the end of a long, winding road. Jane, a young historian, arrived just as the sun was setting. She had heard stories about the mansion's dark past and was determined to uncover the truth. As she approached the front door, the wind howled and the trees whispered ominously. Jane pushed open the heavy wooden door, which creaked loudly. The interior was dark and filled with the smell of dust and decay. She turned on her flashlight, revealing a grand but dilapidated foyer. The once beautiful chandeliers hung broken, and the walls were lined with tattered wallpaper. In the main hallway, Jane's flashlight beam fell on a large portrait of a stern-looking man. The eyes seemed to follow her as she moved. She felt a shiver run down her spine. Suddenly, a cold breeze blew through the hallway, and the portrait's expression changed to one of anger. Jane discovered a hidden door behind a bookshelf in the library. She pushed it open to find a small, secret room. The room was filled with old, dusty books and strange artifacts. In the center of the room was a table with a large, leather-bound journal. She opened it and began to read. The journal belonged to William Briarwood, the original owner of the manor. It detailed dark rituals and a pact with a malevolent spirit to gain wealth and power. The final entry mentioned a curse that would doom anyone who lived in the house. Jane realized the manor was haunted by the spirits of those sacrificed in the rituals. As Jane read the journal, she heard whispers around her. Ghostly figures of the sacrificed appeared, their faces twisted in agony. They warned her to leave before it was too late. The temperature in the room dropped, and Jane could see her breath. She knew she had to get out. Rushing to leave, Jane encountered the malevolent spirit of William Briarwood himself. He appeared at the top of the grand staircase, his eyes glowing with an evil light. He blocked her path, his voice echoing through the manor, threatening her for disturbing his peace. Jane ran through the dark hallways, the spirit close behind her. She burst through the front door and into the night. The manor seemed to sigh as she left, the wind howling around her. She didn't stop running until she reached her car. As she drove away, she could still feel the spirit's eyes on her. Safe in her apartment, Jane reviewed the footage she had captured. The images of the spirits and the journal entries were clear evidence of the haunting. She knew she had to share the story, but a part of her feared the curse might follow her. She felt a cold draft and shivered, wondering if she was truly safe.
In a small town nestled among the hills, a group of friends receives an invitation to spend a weekend at a secluded manor on the outskirts of town. Excited for a getaway, they eagerly accept, unaware of the darkness that lurks within the old estate. As they approach the imposing gates of the manor, a sense of unease washes over them, but they dismiss it as mere nerves. The friends enter the grand foyer of the manor, their footsteps echoing on the marble floors. Dust covers every surface, and cobwebs hang from the chandeliers overhead. Despite its faded grandeur, the manor exudes an air of mystery and intrigue. They exchange nervous glances, wondering what secrets lie hidden within its walls. As night falls, the friends gather for a dinner party in the grand dining hall. The table is set with fine china and silverware, but the food sits untouched, as if waiting for guests who will never arrive. As they dine, they can't shake the feeling of being watched, and strange noises echo through the empty halls. As the night wears on, the friends split up to explore the manor, each one drawn to a different part of the house by an unseen force. They wander the darkened corridors, their footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. Strange whispers fill the air, their words indistinct but undeniably menacing. As they explore, one of the friends encounters a ghostly apparition. A woman dressed in a flowing white gown, her hair cascading down her back in loose waves. She reaches out to them with ethereal hands, her eyes filled with longing and sadness. The friend staggers back in terror, their heart pounding in their chest. As the night progresses, the friends uncover dark secrets hidden within the manor's walls, a history of tragedy and betrayal that spans generations. They find old journals and letters, piecing together the story of the manor's past inhabitants. But as they delve deeper, they awaken something sinister that has been lying dormant for years. As the night wears on, the friends begin to unravel, their minds tormented by the malevolent forces that haunt the manor. They argue and accuse one another, their once strong bonds fraying under the weight of paranoia and fear. But as they spiral further into madness, they realize they must confront the darkness that lurks within the manor if they have any hope of escaping its grasp. Armed with determination, the friends set out to confront the evil that haunts the manor once and for all. They gather in the grand foyer, their hearts pounding in their chests as they prepare to face their greatest fears. With a final glance at one another, they steel themselves for the battle ahead. As dawn breaks, the friends emerge from the manor, battered and bruised but alive. They exchange weary smiles, knowing that they've faced their fears and emerged stronger for it. Though the scars of their ordeal will never fully heal, they take solace in the knowledge that they've conquered the darkness that once threatened to consume them.
The camera pans over a serene lake surrounded by towering trees. The water reflects the golden hues of the setting sun, creating a picturesque scene. But beneath the tranquil surface lies a sinister secret waiting to be uncovered. A group of friends arrives at a lakeside cabin for a weekend getaway. They laugh and joke as they unpack their bags, eager to unwind and enjoy the beauty of nature. As night falls, one of the friends, Emma, shares a local legend about the lake, a tale of a vengeful spirit haunting its waters, seeking revenge on anyone who dares to disturb its slumber. The group dismisses the legend as mere superstition. Strange occurrences plague the cabin, whispers in the night, unexplained shadows flickering in the corners, and cold drafts chilling the air. The friends brush off their unease, attributing it to the eerie atmosphere of the lake. Exploring the cabin, one of the friends, Jack, finds an old journal hidden beneath the floorboards. Its pages reveal the tragic history of the lake, a tale of betrayal and murder that has haunted its shores for centuries. The vengeful spirit of the lake manifests, its ghostly form stalking the friends with malicious intent. Terror grips their hearts as they realize they are being hunted by a force beyond their understanding. In a desperate bid for survival, the friends confront the vengeful spirit at the water's edge. Armed with courage and determination, they must uncover the truth behind the spirit's rage to break the curse that binds them. Through bravery and sacrifice, the friends uncover the truth behind the spirit's curse and lay it to rest. As dawn breaks, they emerge from the darkness, forever changed by their harrowing ordeal. 4 friends, Jake, Emily, Noah, and Lily, stood outside an old, abandoned house on a dare. The house was infamous in their town for being haunted, but they decided to spend the night there to prove their bravery. They pushed open the rusty gate and walked to the front door, which creaked loudly as they opened it. Inside, the house was dark and musty, with broken furniture and cobwebs everywhere. In the living room, they saw an old, dusty couch and a broken chandelier. Suddenly, a cold breeze blew through the room, making them shiver. They heard a faint whisper, but couldn't tell where it came from. They decided to explore upstairs. The wooden stairs creaked with every step. At the top, they found a long hallway with several closed doors. They heard a strange scratching sound coming from one of the rooms. They opened the door to the room and saw a rocking chair moving on its own. The temperature dropped suddenly, and they saw the faint outline of a ghostly figure in the corner. The figure whispered, "Leave this place." Panicking, they ran downstairs and found a door leading to the basement. Despite their fear, they decided to investigate. The basement was even colder and darker. They found strange symbols on the walls and old, dusty furniture. In the basement, they heard footsteps behind them. Turning around, they saw the ghostly figure again, now clearer and more menacing. The ghost raised its hand, and the friends felt an icy wind pushing them towards the stairs. Screaming, they ran up the stairs and out of the house, the door slamming shut behind them. They didn't stop running until they were far from the house. They vowed never to return, and to never speak of what they had seen. Sarah and Jake arrive at the secluded cabin they rented for a weekend getaway. The cabin is nestled deep in the woods, surrounded by tall trees. As they unpack, Sarah notices an old photograph tucked away in a drawer. She feels a chill but shrugs it off. That night, strange occurrences begin. Sarah hears footsteps outside the cabin and sees shadows moving in the darkness. She wakes Jake, but he dismisses it as her imagination. Sarah feels uneasy. sensing an eerie presence looming around the cabin. The next day, Sarah explores the cabin's attic and finds an old journal hidden beneath a dusty trunk. The journal belongs to a previous tenant, detailing bizarre encounters with an unknown entity. Sarah's heart races as she reads about the cabin's dark past. As night falls again, the paranormal activity escalates. Sarah and Jake hear whispers echoing through the cabin and feel a cold draft despite the fireplace burning brightly. Sarah catches glimpses of a shadowy figure lurking in the corners, sending shivers down her spine. Driven by fear, Sarah confronts the entity, demanding to know its intentions. The air grows heavy as a voice whispers sinister messages, filling Sarah with dread. Jake tries to intervene, but the entity's malevolent presence overwhelms them. With the entity's grip tightening, Sarah and Jake decide to flee the cabin. They race through the forest, their hearts pounding with each step. Behind them, they hear haunting laughter echoing through the trees, fueling their desperation to escape. Even after leaving the cabin, Sarah and Jake can't shake the feeling of being watched. Strange occurrences follow them, reminding them of the entity's lingering presence. They vow never to return to the cursed cabin, haunted by the memories of their terrifying ordeal. Months later, Sarah and Jake still grapple with the trauma of their encounter at the cabin. They seek solace in each other's company, finding comfort in the knowledge that they survived the horrors of the haunted woods. Yet, the memory of the malevolent entity continues to haunt their dreams, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks in the shadows.
In the dim light of dusk, a group of 4 friends, Emily, Jack, Sarah, and Mike, arrive at the gates of the old abandoned asylum. The air is thick with an eerie silence, and the massive, decaying building looms over them like a ghost from the past. The friends push open the creaking gate and make their way through the overgrown courtyard. They reach the main door, which hangs loosely on its hinges. As they enter, the smell of mold and decay fills their nostrils, and the floorboards creak under their feet. The hallway stretches out before them, dimly lit by the last rays of the setting sun, filtering through broken windows. Faded photographs and rusted medical equipment lie scattered on the floor. Emily picks up a dusty photo, her face paling as she sees ghostly figures in the background. Suddenly, a cold breeze rushes past them, and the sound of a distant whisper echoes through the corridor. Sarah gasps and points to a shadowy figure at the end of the hall. The figure vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving the friends in terrified silence. They decide to explore one of the rooms. Inside, they find rusty bed frames and torn mattresses. A wheelchair sits eerily in the corner. Jack approaches an old cracked mirror and sees a reflection that isn't his own, a ghostly patient in a hospital gown. Panic sets in, and the friends decide to leave. But as they rush towards the exit, the door slams shut with a deafening bang. In their confusion, they get separated. Emily and Jack find themselves in the basement, while Sarah and Mike are trapped upstairs. In the basement, Emily and Jack discover an old operating room with rusty surgical tools. The air is thick with the smell of decay. Suddenly, the lights flicker, and they see ghostly surgeons and patients moving around them, performing eerie, silent operations. Upstairs, Sarah and Mike stumble upon the asylum's records room. Dust-covered files and photographs lie scattered. As they search for a way out, the walls begin to close in, and ghostly hands reach out from the files, grabbing at them. Through sheer determination, the friends manage to reunite in the main hallway. Desperation gives them the strength to break down the door, and they stumble out into the night, gasping for fresh air. The asylum remains silent behind them, its secrets intact. Back in the safety of their homes, the friends can't shake the feeling of being watched. Each night they are haunted by nightmares of the asylum and the ghostly figures they encountered. The terror of that night remains etched in their minds forever.
On a foggy evening, 4 friends, Jess, Ryan, Maya, and Ethan, arrive at Blackwood Manor, an imposing mansion nestled deep within the woods. The moon casts an eerie glow over the ivy-covered walls as they approach, their footsteps muffled by the dense fog. Jess shivers, feeling a chill run down her spine. With a creak, the massive oak doors of Blackwood Manor swing open, revealing a dimly lit entryway. Cobwebs cling to the high ceiling, and dust dances in the beams of their flashlights as they cautiously step inside. The air is heavy with the scent of age and decay, sending shivers down their spines. Inside the mansion, they navigate a maze of hallways, each corridor seemingly darker and more foreboding than the last. Paint peels from the walls, and the floorboards groan beneath their weight. Strange symbols etched into the wood send shivers down their spines, and they quicken their pace, eager to uncover the mansion's secrets. As they explore, they begin to hear faint whispers that seem to emanate from the very walls of the mansion. The whispers grow louder and more insistent, filling the air with an unsettling chorus. The friends exchange uneasy glances, their senses on high alert as they try to decipher the ghostly messages. Suddenly, ghostly figures materialize before them, translucent apparitions with hollow eyes and outstretched hands. The ethereal beings float through the air, their movements graceful yet unsettling. The friends watch in horror as the spirits draw closer, their presence filling the mansion with a chilling aura. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, the friends turn and flee from the mansion, their hearts pounding with terror. They race through the dark corridors, their breath ragged and their footsteps echoing off the walls. Behind them, the ghostly apparitions follow, their unearthly wails growing fainter as the friends struggle to escape. Exhausted and trembling, the friends burst through the door of the mansion, their minds reeling from the horrors they've witnessed. They collapse on the ground outside, their bodies shaking with adrenaline and fear. The moon casts a soft glow over the forest, a comforting reminder that they have escaped the clutches of Blackwood Manor. Emma, a writer in her early 30s, inherits an old manor named Blackwood Manor from her late grandmother. Hoping to find inspiration for her next novel, she moves into the house. As she steps inside, the house feels cold and unwelcoming. Dust covers the furniture, and the air is thick with the scent of old wood and decay. She feels a strange sense of foreboding, but brushes it off as nerves. On her first night, Emma struggles to sleep. The house is filled with strange noises, the creaking of floorboards, the whisper of the wind through cracks in the windows, and distant, indistinct whispers. She hears what sounds like footsteps outside her bedroom door, but when she checks, no one is there. She returns to bed, uneasy and sleep-deprived. The next day, while exploring the house, Emma finds a locked door in the basement. Curious, she searches the house and eventually finds an old rusty key hidden in a drawer. She uses the key to unlock the door and discovers a small room with old, forgotten belongings, including a dusty mirror covered with a cloth. Emma removes the cloth from the mirror and, to her shock, sees the reflection of a young woman standing behind her. When she turns around, no one is there. The mirror begins to show disturbing images of past events in the house, including a girl being trapped and crying for help. Emma feels a chill run down her spine. Determined to find out more, Emma searches the house and finds an old diary hidden behind a loose brick in the fireplace. The diary belonged to her grandmother and details a tragic story of a girl named Isabella who lived in the house and mysteriously disappeared. Emma realizes the ghost she saw is Isabella, trapped in the mirror. Emma decides to perform a seance to communicate with Isabella's spirit. She sets up candles and chants words from the diary. The room grows cold, and Isabella's ghost appears, revealing that she was trapped by a dark ritual performed by Emma's grandmother. Isabella begs Emma to free her. Following Isabella's instructions, Emma gathers the items needed to break the ritual: a locket, a piece of Isabella's clothing, and a special incantation. As she performs the ritual, the house shakes violently, and a dark, malevolent spirit tries to stop her. Emma persists, chanting the incantation louder and louder. The dark spirit attacks, but Emma continues the ritual, calling out to Isabella for strength. A bright light fills the room, and the dark spirit screams before dissipating into nothingness. Isabella's spirit smiles gratefully at Emma before ascending into the light, finally freed. With the haunting over, the house feels lighter and more welcoming. Emma finishes her novel, inspired by Isabella's story. She decides to keep Blackwood Manor and transform it into a place of peace and creativity. Sitting on the porch, she feels a deep connection to the house and its history, ready for a new beginning. Evelyn, Mark, Lisa, and John arrived at Crescent Grove, a forgotten village nestled deep in the forest. The sun was setting, casting eerie shadows on the abandoned buildings. The village was said to be haunted, and the four friends had come to investigate the rumors. "This place gives me the creeps," Lisa whispered, clutching Mark's arm. "Don't worry, it's just for one night," Mark reassured her. Evelyn led the group, her curiosity piqued by the mystery. "Let's find a place to set up camp." John the skeptic laughed. "Ghosts aren't real, you'll see." They found an old inn at the center of the village and decided to make it their base for the night. The building was dusty and filled with cobwebs. As they set up their sleeping bags in the main hall, strange noises echoed through the empty corridors. "Did you hear that?" Lisa asked, her voice trembling. "It's just the wind," John replied, though he didn't sound convinced. Evelyn found an old diary on a shelf. "This might tell us what happened here," she said, opening it. As Evelyn read from the diary, the friends learned about the village's dark past. The villagers had practiced forbidden rituals, summoning a malevolent spirit that eventually destroyed them. "This is creepy," Mark said, glancing around nervously. "We should leave," Lisa urged, fear in her eyes. "We need to stay and finish this," Evelyn insisted. "We have to find out if the spirit is still here." Suddenly the air grew cold and the lights flickered. A shadowy figure appeared at the end of the hall, its eyes glowing with a sinister red light. The friends froze in terror. "Run!" Mark shouted, but the figure moved faster, blocking their exit. Evelyn held up the diary like a shield. "We need to use the ritual described here to banish it." The spirit lashed out, knocking John to the ground. Lisa screamed and Mark pulled her back, trying to protect her. With trembling hands, Evelyn and Mark gathered the materials needed for the ritual described in the diary. Lisa and John tried to hold the spirit at bay, their fear palpable. "Hurry up!" Lisa cried as the spirit advanced. "We're almost ready," Evelyn said, her voice shaking. "Mark, light the candles." Mark lit the candles, forming a protective circle. Evelyn began to chant the incantation from the diary, her voice growing stronger with each word. The spirit roared in fury, trying to break through the protective circle. Evelyn continued to chant, her voice now steady and commanding. The air crackled with energy as the spirit's form began to waver. "Keep going," Mark urged, holding Lisa close. John, recovering from the spirit's attack, joined in the chant. The spirit let out a deafening scream as it was forced back. With one final word, Evelyn completed the ritual. The spirit dissolved into the air, leaving a deafening silence behind. The friends collapsed to the floor, exhausted but relieved. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a peaceful silence. "We did it," Evelyn said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let's get out of here," Lisa urged, her eyes still wide with fear. They gathered their things and left the inn, the first light of dawn breaking over the horizon. As they walked away from Crescent Grove, they felt a sense of triumph and relief. "Let's never do this again," John said, managing a weak smile. As they walked away from the village, the sun rose higher, casting a warm glow over the forest. The village behind them was now just a distant memory, a place they would never forget but never return to. "Let's make a pact," Evelyn said, stopping to look at her friends. "We never speak of this again." "Agreed," Mark, Lisa, and John said in unison. They walked on, the past behind them and the future ahead, grateful to have survived the haunting of Crescent Grove. Emma, a young woman in her late 20s, inherits an old mansion called Oakwood Manor from her estranged aunt. She decides to visit the house, hoping to sell it quickly. As she arrives, she feels an unsettling chill in the air. The house, surrounded by towering oak trees, looks like it hasn't been touched in decades. On her first night in the house, Emma explores the dusty, dimly lit rooms. She finds a family portrait with a stern-looking woman who resembles her aunt. As she prepares for bed, she hears strange noises, whispers and footsteps echoing through the empty hallways. The next day, Emma discovers a locked room at the end of the hallway. Curious, she searches the house and finds an old, rusty key in a drawer. The key fits, and as she opens the door, she finds an old nursery filled with cobweb-covered toys and an old rocking chair that starts moving on its own. That night, Emma is awakened by a cold breeze and sees a ghostly figure of a child standing by her bed. The child whispers, "Help me." Terrified, Emma tries to communicate, but the figure vanishes. She realizes the house holds dark secrets that need to be uncovered. Determined to uncover the truth, Emma searches the house and finds a hidden diary in the nursery. The diary belonged to her aunt and reveals a tragic story about the death of a child named Lily, who was her aunt's daughter. The diary hints at dark rituals conducted to communicate with Lily's spirit. Emma decides to perform a seance to contact Lily's spirit. She sets up candles and chants the words from the diary. The room grows cold, and Lily's ghost appears, revealing that she was trapped by her mother's rituals. Lily begs Emma to free her. Emma follows the diary's instructions to break the ritual. As she performs the final steps, the house shakes violently, and a dark shadow emerges, trying to stop her. Emma confronts the shadow, realizing it's her aunt's tormented spirit, refusing to let Lily go. With determination, Emma completes the ritual, and the shadow dissipates with a final, anguished scream. Lily's spirit is freed, and she smiles gratefully at Emma before disappearing into a bright light. The house grows calm and quiet. With the haunting over, Emma decides to stay at Oakwood Manor and turn it into a writer's retreat. She feels a deep connection to the house and its history. As she sits on the porch, the sun sets, casting a warm glow over the once haunted mansion.
A car winds its way down a narrow road, flanked on both sides by dense forest. Inside, a group of friends chats excitedly, their anticipation palpable as they approach their destination, a secluded cabin deep in the heart of the Whispering Woods. As they round a bend in the road, the cabin comes into view, its weathered facade blending seamlessly with the surrounding trees. The friends step out of the car and approach the cabin, their footsteps muffled by the thick layer of pine needles covering the ground. The air is cool and crisp, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. They unlock the door and step inside, their excitement mounting as they take in their surroundings. The cozy fireplace, the rustic furniture, the promise of a weekend filled with laughter and adventure. The next day, the friends set out on a hike through the Whispering Woods, eager to explore their surroundings. They follow a narrow trail that winds its way through the dense forest, the canopy overhead casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. As they walk, they hear the faint sound of whispering in the distance, but they dismiss it as nothing more than the wind rustling through the trees. As they hike deeper into the woods, the friends stumble upon an abandoned clearing, a forgotten relic of a bygone era. The grass is overgrown, and the remains of a crumbling stone structure lie scattered among the trees. A sense of unease washes over them as they enter the clearing, the whispering growing louder with each step they take. As they explore the clearing, the friends are overcome by a sense of foreboding, the whispering growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. They exchange nervous glances, their hearts pounding in their chests as they try to locate the source of the strange noises. But the forest remains silent, its secrets hidden beneath a shroud of darkness. Suddenly, one of the friends disappears without a trace, leaving the others panicked and confused. They call out into the darkness, their voices echoing through the trees, but there's no response. Frantic, they search the clearing, their fear mounting with each passing moment. But the forest remains silent, as if swallowing their cries for help. As night falls, the friends begin to unravel, their minds tormented by the whispers that fill the air. They argue and accuse one another, their once strong bonds strained to the breaking point. But as they spiral further into madness, they realize they must confront the darkness that lurks within the Whispering Woods if they have any hope of escaping its grasp. Armed with determination, the remaining friends set out to confront the evil that haunts the Whispering Woods once and for all. They gather in the clearing, their hearts pounding in their chests as they prepare to face their greatest fears. With a final glance at one another, they steel themselves for the battle ahead. As dawn breaks, the remaining friends emerge from the Whispering Woods, battered and bruised but alive. They exchange weary smiles, knowing that they've faced their fears and emerged stronger for it. Though the scars of their ordeal will never fully heal, they take solace in the knowledge that they've conquered the darkness that once threatened to consume them.
Jonathan, a middle-aged man with a strained relationship with his family, receives a letter informing him of an inheritance from his late uncle. The inheritance includes a remote mansion in the countryside. Curious and financially strained, Jonathan decides to visit the mansion with his wife, Laura, and their teenage daughter, Megan. Laura looks worried. "Are you sure about this? We don't even know much about your uncle." Jonathan nods. "We need a fresh start, and maybe this place can offer that." Megan, always the adventurous one, says excitedly, "It'll be like an adventure." The family arrives at the mansion late in the afternoon. The mansion stands tall and imposing, surrounded by a dense forest. The air is thick with the scent of decay, and the atmosphere is eerily quiet. Megan shivers. This place feels off. Jonathan, trying to be positive, says, "It's just old. Let's see what's inside." Laura clutches Megan's hand. "Stay close, honey." Inside, the mansion is filled with dust and cobwebs. The furniture is covered with white sheets, and the air is musty. As they explore, Megan finds an old, ornate mirror in one of the rooms. The mirror's surface is strangely clean compared to the rest of the house. "Look at this mirror," Megan calls out. Laura touches the frame. "It's beautiful, but out of place here." Jonathan frowns. "Why is it so clean?" That night, the family tries to settle in. Jonathan and Laura fall asleep quickly, but Megan struggles. Around midnight, she hears faint whispers and feels a cold breeze. The mirror in her room begins to fog up, revealing words written from the inside. "Help us," it reads. Terrified, Megan runs to her parents' room. "Mom, Dad, there's something in the mirror." Jonathan, groggy, tries to comfort her. "It's just your imagination, Megan. Go back to sleep." The next day, the family visits the local library to learn more about the mansion. They discover that it was owned by Jonathan's uncle, who was a reclusive and eccentric man interested in the occult. Laura reads from an old newspaper. Local recluse found dead under mysterious circumstances. Mansion believed to be haunted. Jonathan sighs. "This explains a lot. We need to be careful." Megan, still shaken, adds, "What if the spirits are still here?" Back at the mansion, Jonathan discovers a hidden door in the basement. Inside, they find an old study filled with books on the occult, strange artifacts, and a large, locked chest. Laura examines a book. "He was really into dark stuff. This can't be good." Jonathan tries to open the chest, but fails. "We need to find the key. There might be answers inside." Megan points to a strange symbol on the wall. "I've seen this symbol before, in my room." That night, the hauntings escalate. Objects move on their own, and ghostly apparitions appear. Megan is dragged out of bed by an unseen force, and Laura sees a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hallway watching them. "We have to leave now," Laura screams, but the doors are locked and won't open. Jonathan grabs an old book from the study. "This book has instructions to banish the spirits. We need to perform the ritual." Desperate, the family gathers in the basement to perform the ritual. They light candles and arrange the symbols in a circle. Jonathan reads the incantation aloud, while Laura and Megan hold hands, trembling. As the ritual progresses, the house shakes, and the spirits grow more agitated. A blinding light fills the room, and the spirits are drawn into the circle, screaming. "Keep going, Jonathan!" Laura yells over the noise. With a final shout, Jonathan completes the incantation and the spirits vanish. The house falls silent. The next morning, the mansion feels different. The oppressive atmosphere is gone, and sunlight streams through the windows. The family packs up their belongings, relieved that the ordeal is over. "We should tell someone about this place," Laura says, looking back at the mansion. Jonathan nods. "Let's make sure no one else has to go through this." They drive away, leaving the mansion behind. Back home, life seems to return to normal. But one night, Megan finds the old mirror in her room, even though they left it at the mansion. Her heart races as she sees words slowly appear on the surface. "We are not done," it reads. Megan turns to see a shadowy figure standing in the corner, its eyes glowing with malevolence. She screams as the room plunges into darkness. Anna and her husband, Tom, arrive at Blackwood Manor, an old mansion they inherited from Anna's late uncle. The house is grand, but has been abandoned for years. As they explore, Anna finds a dusty old journal in the study. Curious, she decides to read it later. That night, Anna wakes up to strange noises, whispers, and faint footsteps. She dismisses it as the house settling. When she looks out the window, she sees a flickering light in the garden. She turns to wake Tom, but the light disappears when she looks back. The next day, Anna reads the journal. It belonged to her uncle, who wrote about a mysterious figure he saw in the house. The entries become more frantic, describing how the figure tormented him. His last entry warns about a hidden room in the attic. Determined to find the hidden room, Anna and Tom search the attic. They discover a concealed door behind some old furniture. Inside, they find an old nursery filled with dusty toys and a large, cracked mirror. In the mirror, Anna briefly sees a shadowy figure standing behind them. That night, the haunting intensifies. Anna sees the shadowy figure in the mirror again, now clearer and more menacing. The air grows cold, and she hears a chilling whisper saying, "Find my child." Terrified, she realizes the ghost is trying to communicate. Anna tells Tom about her experiences. They decide to seek help from a local historian. The historian tells them about the tragic history of Blackwood Manor, involving a woman named Eleanor, who lost her child and died in despair. Her spirit is believed to haunt the house. Following the historian's advice, Anna and Tom search the garden and find a small, unmarked grave hidden among the overgrowth. They realize it's the grave of Eleanor's child. They decide to perform a simple ritual to give the child a proper burial. Anna and Tom perform the ritual, laying flowers and saying a prayer. As they finish, they see Eleanor's ghost appear, looking peaceful. She silently thanks them before fading away. The air feels warmer and the oppressive atmosphere lifts. With the ritual complete, the haunting stops. The house feels lighter and more welcoming. Anna and Tom decide to stay, feeling a deep connection to the house and its history. They keep the journal as a reminder of the past they helped lay to rest. Months later, Anna and Tom enjoy their peaceful home. They often think about Eleanor and the child, and are grateful for the experience that brought them closer together and helped them appreciate their new home. The memories of the past live on, but in a peaceful way.